how is everybody? I just wanted to throw something out because I knew when I was doing this it was getting me kind of screwed up. I said this one is your outer gas giants. That would be this one. That's my bad. I knew when I was saying that it was on because that isn't how I figured it before. Because there again, it's opposite, right? So the outer gas giants are further away from the sun. So in inverted world, we're going to put them closer to the sun, so to speak. And these would be your inner planets right here. Okay, so I just want to make a quick correction there because, and again, going back to the whole perspective thing. Okay, so when I said some of the prophecies are going to fail, is because, again, that book has a bunch of events in it that have already happened, but some of them aren't going to happen again. That would be the correction in the timeline. And it just depends on what story and what character it is in the story. Because even that Bible, and again, I get in trouble with the church, I don't care, is written. Okay, here's how it goes. Let me tell you how this works. Okay, so let's say there's 4 or 5 of us standing on a street corner and we witness a fight, okay? And then you go around and you talk to everybody and you get a statement from them, right? The police, whatever. And everybody's story is going to be probably slightly different. We hear about this all the time when they're interviewing crime, that, eyewitness results vary, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever, because they do vary. Everybody's got their own perspective. But the overall story is gonna be there was a fight, and everybody's gonna see certain things the same here, and they're gonna see some things that are different because their perspective. So that's how the book goes, right? All these stories, Matthew, Mark, all these different stories are from a given perspective, depending on who the person is that's writing the book, so to speak, as to what he witnessed. And it may line up with this over here because they saw the same thing, but they have their own perspective and their own little input. And this is why, okay, so God is good, God is love, God is forgiveness, right? God has all these labels, which bad thing to do, right? But anyway, so one of them is the truth. Satan, the liar, they kind of tell you there. It's the truth versus a lie. It's not necessarily the good versus the evil, right? Because that's just opposite ends of the same energy if we go back to energy. And even truth and lie, it's the opposite ends. It's like I said, Milton, it's better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, so that was their philosophy, and unfortunately their shit all died. I'm sorry. So it's all written from a certain perspective, even the Bible is. And not all the heroes in the Bible are the true heroes, right? It's because it's got its own inversion. And to give you a good example, and this is again going back to that Jesus character and how nobody's coming out of the cloud and he's whatever, okay? Basically he didn't have an earthly father, right? Well, you know what? I told you where your soul came from. It breathed in and right here. So until this happened, guess what? There was no earthly father here either for us. Okay, I keep saying we are the Jesus story. We are the ones that spent, 3 years. And that even goes into, when you get into the Garden of Eden, it talks about supposedly Adam and Eve were hiding from God, right? They couldn't be seen, blah, 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 blah. The reason they couldn't be seen is because they were just orbs. They were whispers in the dark because they were out of body. That's why he said, well, here, let me make you some clothing out of animal skins. And we've talked about how this is the beast system. and you wear an animal skin, it wasn't actual clothing per se. And they probably were little orbs, and they didn't have fig leaves. They probably were hiding under fig leaves. Again, it's a story within a story, just like everything else. It has its own little whatever about it. It just is what it is. So I wanted to throw this correction in there, and give you a little more example about perspectives, and because even in school, I don't know how old people are that watch these videos. I know back when I'm 60, what, 2 now? Something like that. I don't know. I don't even know how old I don't even know what day of the week I'm on. We used to have a thing in school called Backwards Day. And everybody did these goofy things, like the football players dressed up like the cheerleaders, and how funny is that today, right? I'm just saying. But we had a backwards day, and they put little tidbits out there everywhere. It's just how we perceive them. Everything's about perception. In fact, even in the movies, again, I go back to the movies. Yoda told Luke, what? You must unlearn everything that you have learned. That kind of goes back to, in the Bible, empty your cup, so to speak. Your crown, empty it, unlearn everything that you've learned, and attack it from a new. In fact, I had a discussion about this today. They were talking about how people who invent these things, like the guy who built the engine that ran on water, they disappear, and Tesla disappeared, because you're not going to fix this reality. This reality was never meant to be fixed. It's I can't even explain it. It's the valley of death, just like it says in the book, right? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the valley of death, and they always pin it as, just certain things in your life, and it's the micro and the macro. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there real quick. Have a good one. Love y'all. Bye bye.